Computer. All right, we are now recording. Thank you all so much for being here tonight for our All Things CBD call. My name is Kristen Boucher, and I am a platinum leader with Young Living. I've been with Young Living for about, it'll be 6 years in July, which is hard to believe. I'm also a nurse. You are all in for such a treat tonight because four of us, the four panelists, are all nurses. So we're coming to you with some street cred around CBD and natural living, and we're going to share some really awesome tidbits about this incredible product that we now have. It's from Nature's Ultra, and share with you what it is and how to use it. So I got started about 6 years ago. I came from natural living and I was using essential oils, and I didn't know there was a difference in quality. I was getting my stuff on Amazon, wasn't experiencing a whole lot from those oils. Come to realize there's a huge discrepancy in quality with oils out there. So I switched over to Young Living. I got my starter kit. I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time. I was stressed out to the max. My adrenals were pretty much shot. And I noticed a huge shift in my stress and my well-being. And I was hooked from there on in. So I've been using these oils for about 6 years now, and they have completely changed every aspect of my life, from my personal wellness to my professional wellness to my financial wellness. It's just been an amazing journey. And not to mention, and I think these ladies will agree, the community aspect has been just absolutely incredible. So get yourself a pen and a paper. You're going to learn so much tonight. We are going to school you on CBD. And I want to introduce you my co-speakers tonight, Ann Mayville, Kay Cooney, and Julia Exaferis, all registered nurses as well. I don't know who wants to go first, but please somebody jump in and share your story, and then we're going to dive in. Ann's going to kick us off with the content tonight. Who wants to go? Eenie? Meanie? How about the lady with the dirty fingernails? Oh, you're
sorry, I had to unmute myself. That's me, the dirty fingernail lady. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is one of my more favorite topics, so I'm looking forward to tonight's presentation. I started with Young Living about a little over 2 years ago. Juliet, who is in my lower left-hand corner, I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch, is my niece, and exposed us to this lifestyle and dramatically changed our lives forever. We have enjoyed tremendous health and wellness from these products in this company. And I will tell you, I am a daily user of the CBD. So I look forward to sharing some of my stories and experiences with you. And now I'm handing off to Jules.
All right. Hello, everybody. Yay. I'm so happy that everybody is here. We have a nice group. It looks like we have about almost 30 people here with us. So thank you for taking time out of your evening. So my name is Juliet Exaferis, and I am I'm a nurse. I'm a mom of twin boys. I have been living the wellness lifestyle now for about 3 years. I got started, and funny story, it was my husband actually who got us started. I was kind of closed off to the idea, and he's the person who got us started with an essential oil kit. And then the following month, my mother got a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, and so I just felt very motivated to start getting chemicals out of the home. And I never realized, what the journey would entail. It started with kind of ditching and switching chemicals, and then personally, I have a history of anxiety and some mental health issues, and I actually had been using CBD from another company, and Young Living did not have CBD at the time. So I was using oils to help me with emotional support. And then in 2018, I want to say, is when, and we'll talk about this in the presentation, but that's when Young Living partnered with a wonderful farm that makes CBD. And I was super excited to try the Young Living CBD because the company that I was using, they could not tell me about the sourcing. And if you're familiar with Young Living, as many of the folks on the call are, one of our biggest bonuses and really kind of testimonies here with Young Living is something called Seed to Seal, which basically is a promise of quality and knowing where your sourcing comes from and just purity and all good things. And that was really important to me. And I didn't like that the company I was using couldn't offer that. So I tried CBD, and I'm excited to be here. This is actually my first time kind of doing a class. So it's kind of exciting on CBD.
Awesome.
So I'm happy to be here. And like Kay, I'm also a daily user of CBD. So hooray for CBD. And then Anne, you're next.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm a daily user too. I've got it all here. So before I introduce myself, I'm an oversharer, and I'm going to overshare right now. I've got this Calm, and Kay, you're going to talk about this, I know. I've got it on my wrist. I've got it on my abdomen. And I happen to be, it's Dragon Time or Shark Week for me, if you know what that is. I have this loaded onto an organic cotton tampon, and it works amazing. That's right. On your abdomen too. Oversharing. I have Ningxia Zing in my beautiful little cup. It's pink now. It hasn't always been this beautiful shade of pink. I think that speaks to the antioxidant content of things. If it has more antioxidants, the pinker it becomes. So a drop of citrus CBD in your Zing is incredible as well. So yeah, daily user. I too used to use from another company, and when Young Living came out, I was like, thank God that we have this covered now too, because switching is a no-brainer. So I am Ann Mayville. I'm a registered nurse. I live in Reno, Nevada. I was born and raised in South Louisiana, and I was born and raised on Lay's potato chips and Coca-Cola and Oreos and all this stuff, and never knew better. Unfortunately, I did suffer a cancer diagnosis, and the cancer that I had, it was several years ago, in 2011 was my diagnosis. No one in my family ever had that type of cancer, and so there was no answer. Why did I have it? So to me, it was, it came from my environment. So I started to make changes in the foods we ate, the things we put on our skin. We ditched colors, fragrances, and all of that. So just another no-brainer to use Young Living products, Nature's Ultra CBD, when you can have the purest without all the crap in it. It's a blessing. Kristen, do you want me to kick it off?
Yes, please.
Go into the content.
Please do. And just to keep you guys, this is for educational purposes only. We have a little disclaimer. We cannot treat, prescribe, diagnose, cure, any of that. So just know that this is all for educational purposes. All right, Anne, take it away. I'm gonna wait. Hold on. Time out. Let me share the screen so we can get the slide set going.
Okay.
There we go. All right, you're on.
Okay, so the difference between CBD and marijuana, and why is CBD important? So it's not just a fad, and I think we've seen this everywhere, and especially, I don't know, maybe over the past 3 years, it's everywhere. It's at gas stations and everywhere else. It's a real staple in various communities around the world. So in this class, you're going to get to see why. So don't let all of the scientific explanations overwhelm you. We are just going to make you empowered with your knowledge of CBD and see how you can utilize it to reach your health goals. So like Kristen said, we're not doctors or scientists. We're just nurses, although we're not here to diagnose anybody. We're here to just share this amazing knowledge. So CBD is not marijuana. They are both from the same plant, cannabis, which is hemp, but there are different varieties. So marijuana is produced when the hemp plant is grown without the male variety present. The resin produced from the small hair-like appendages of all female plants is full of THC, which produces the psychoactive effects that you can associate with marijuana. So CBD is a natural substance from another variety of hemp. It's produced when the hemp plant is grown with both the female and the male plant. The resin produced is full of CBD, which does not contain the same heavy psychoactive effects as THC, and only has small amounts of THC. So I think this is very cool because Young Living has the frankincense, which also comes from a resin, as well as our copaiba, which comes from a resin. So pretty cool how these things can come from these same like sister-like plants. So why was CBD illegal, and is it bad? I think sometimes it can still be associated with some kind of a stigma. So CBD is a natural substance from the hemp plant. Hemp originated in Asia and the Middle East thousands of years ago and has since spread worldwide. It showed up in the US back in the 16th century. In fact, farmers used to be fined if a certain percentage of their production was not hemp because of how incredibly useful the plant can be. So hemp is used for paper, food, fiber, construction materials, clothes, and many other products. In the 1920s, a negative media war was waged on hemp or marijuana. Due to financial reasons, it was eventually deemed a Schedule I controlled substance. This category is for substances that have no benefit and a high potential for abuse. I did listen to some other research this week about this change that happened in 1920, and the head of the I'm going to say the American Medical Society. I'm probably saying that term wrong, but it's whoever is in charge of all of the physicians. They said that at that point in the 1920s, if they would have been asked about this change, that they never would have let it go through. They were just never consulted on it. So that's very interesting. So I know also that they were using hemp and CBD and probably marijuana as well in many of the pharmacies at that time. So in 2018, CBD was finally downgraded from a Schedule I controlled substance to a Schedule, what is that, 5? Controlled substance, meaning that it has some benefits and the potential for abuse is low. The FDA changed the category so that a drug containing CBD called Epidiolex could be sold. And yes, funny how when a drug company wants to sell something to be legal, they just get the law changed. Amen to that. So in December of 2018, CBD went from a Schedule V controlled substance to an unscheduled substance due to the Hemp Farming Act of 2018, which removed hemp and cannabis, which was less than 0.3 THC, as a controlled substance. So this means that federal law made CBD legal in all 50 states. Some states have their own regulations, so it's important that you know what the ones are from your state. But I remember in all of our communities that this Farm Act in 2018 was a huge win for all of us. We still have, I know, some FDA issues that I know in the future we're going to be able to work through them. So that's all going to be okay. So I am going to hand this off to Juliet, and she's going to tell us about the endocannabinoid system.
Thank you, Anne.
All right, guys. So that sometimes the history part can feel a little bit dry. So just to shake it up a little bit, it is important. And I actually found that really interesting. But just to shake it up a bit in the chat, why don't you share what state you are representing today? So I'm actually going to be talking about the endocannabinoid system, ECS or EC system. And this is another topic that it's a little like big word sciencey, so just hang in there. So the endocannabinoid system is a biological system composed of endocannabinoids, which are endogenous lipid-based retrograde neurotransmitters that bind to cannabinoid receptors. Cannabinoid receptors, CB1 and CB2. And cannabinoid receptor proteins that are expressed throughout the vertebrae, central nervous system, including the brain, and peripheral nervous system. Whew, that's a lot of big words. In layman's terms, the we'll just call it the EC system, is linked to your central nervous system and peripheral nervous system to help the body maintain homeostasis. I like this part. So in general sense, homeostasis refers to stability or balance in a system. It is the body's attempt to maintain a constant internal environment. Maintaining a stable internal environment requires constant monitoring and adjustments as conditions change. So if the body gets out of homeostasis, the endocannabinoid system sends out natural endocannabinoids and enzymes to help regulate the body and bring it back into homeostasis. So for example, when you get too hot, your endocannabinoid system kicks into gear and you start to sweat to bring your body temperature down. Or if you get too cold, you start to shiver. Or when you get hungry, your stomach growls. Or when you get tired, you yawn. So these are all the endocannabinoid system. So CBD primarily interacts with the endocannabinoid system, making it a highly sought after product through Young Living. So just take a second to think about your body's homeostasis. Do you feel like your body tells you when it needs something, and does it adjust accordingly? So the next thing I'm going to talk about is THC versus CBD. So now that we know what the endocannabinoid system does, we're going to look at the difference between THC and CBD in regards to the cannabinoid receptors CB1 and CB2. So CB1 receptors are in the central nervous system, which is the brain and the nerves of the spinal cord. And CB2 receptors are found all over the body in the peripheral nervous system, your nerves in your extremities, the digestive system, and specialized cells in your immune system. So THC acts on CB1 and CB2, and when they attach to CB1 in the brain, it causes the intoxicating effects that are experienced. So THC, it's like, kind of what's in marijuana. So it will act on those receptors in the brain, and you can experience that psychoactive. So like with marijuana, cannabis, or hashish, my mother used to call it grass. It also affects the peripheral nervous system when it attaches to CB2. Which is why some smoke marijuana to feel calmer or to decrease pain. It's also why cancer patients receiving chemotherapy are sometimes prescribed medical marijuana because of the effects on the digestive system to help prevent nausea. It is important to note that exposure to THC does have its risks. So for example, schizophrenia, that's one of the risks with using THC. Or certainly failing a drug test is a concern for some, or even participation of illegal activity based on your state's position on the topic. And some people are just generally more sensitive to THC. CBD does not bind directly to either of these receptors, but instead it impacts them indirectly by modifying the receptor's ability to bind to cannabinoids. So these indirect actions include activating another receptor cell, which is called TRPV1, which is an integral part of the endocannabinoid system. So that's just this is real sciencey stuff. One more little sciencey thing, but it's very important, and that is on the subject of terpenes. So I know that this is sciencey, but it's really chock full of goodness. And I know my friend Kay over there is like chomping at the bit because this is like speaking her language. All right, so terpenes. So why are terpenes? Have you heard of terpenes? Why are they such a big deal? I think this part's really cool. So terpenes are what give plants their aroma. So the fragrant imprint of each plant is a result of different combinations of terpenes. So cannabis is unique in that each strain has a unique profile of terpenes. Terpenes are believed to have many positive effects on the body. These properties can act independently as well as in addition to what the cannabinoids offer. There are several known and studied terpenes that all exhibit different medicinal effects. Overall, terpenes contribute to the medicinal properties of cannabis, and it's a phenomenon known as the entourage effect. I'm loving the comments right now. The grass, ganja, weed. So the entourage effect. Think of it like this. Think of it like a team of players versus a single player. So the team is the entourage effect of the terpenes plus the cannabinoids. So now here's a question for you. Where else have we heard about terpenes? I'll give you a hint. Why are we all here? What are we loving and we're using? Thank you, Ann Mayville. Oils. So ding, 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 essential oils. Essential oils have terpenes. Terpenes with a multitude of positive effects are found in our beloved essential oils. So the next section that I wanted to talk about is actually while we're on the subject of oils, in the chat, if you're using Young Living essential oils already, what's your favorite? So throw that in the chat just to keep it interesting here. But how to choose your CBD. So there's certainly a bit of chaos when it comes to the availability of CBD products. We kind of talked a little bit about the history earlier, and there's so many, companies to choose from. I mean, even the local gas stations like Mobile, I've seen CBD over there. So obviously quality is a really important factor to consider. But it's also important to know the difference between CBDs. So for example, full spectrum CBD is one. So we're going to talk about full spectrum CBD. Number 2 is isolate CBD. And then finally, we're going to talk about smart spectrum CBD. So a full spectrum CBD still has some trace THC in it. So while you won't get the psychoactive effects of straight THC like marijuana, there is still the possibility of exposure to THC. So, and at this point, it's important to note that that THC or hemp is a phytomediator by nature. And what phytomediation is, it's basically nature's way of using living plants to clean the soil and groundwater. So what that means is that that chemicals can absorb. Chemicals and toxins from the soil can absorb. So what that means basically is that traces of heavy metal absorbed from the soil may be left behind in a full spectrum product. So that's something to think about. However, a lot of people gravitate toward full spectrum CBD because it still contains terpenes and many more compounds. Thus, it delivers the powerful entourage effect that we were just talking about. So the other way to produce CBD is in its isolated form. And this is the second one, CBD isolate, is pure CBD. And while it has 0% THC, no heavy metals or other compounds, it also has no terpenes in it. And therefore it loses the entourage effect. So remember, like we were talking about, what else contains terpenes? Essential oils. So what's really cool is that we can actually add essential oils to CBD to create a synergistic effect and thereby increase the benefits of the CBD isolate. And this is what Nature's Ultra has done, and it's really exciting. So they have combined organic CBD isolate and terpenes to create an amazing product called the Smart Spectrum CBD. And that is what Young Living offers. And Kay is actually, first is everybody still with me? That was a lot of stuff. Thank you for listening. Kay Cooney, thankfully you're next and you're gonna liven the bunch up. Go for it.
All right. Hey there, ladies. So yes, this is one of my most favorite topics for lots of good reasons. I will tell you when I became a CBD convert. When this first started coming out and Young Living adopted this company and brought them in-house, I wasn't overly impressed in terms of who needed CBD and why, right? And the reality of it is when you clean up CBD, It is an unbelievable resource. So Jules was talking about phytoremediation, and essentially what farmers have done historically is you throw a crop of hemp down, and that hemp sucks up the cadmium, the lead, all of the junk, the pesticides, everything in the soil. So it is a farmer's friend and a soil cleaner. Now, what happens to that crop of hemp that has just sucked all that junk out? Well, it should be thrown out, right? Unfortunately, it's being used and put back in fabrics, and it's also being put back into circulation at your local drugstore for $10 a bottle for CBD. So there is a reason, and there is a quality difference that is huge, huge, huge. Also, the whole THC versus non-THC. The CBD molecule stands alone. It does amazing things. It is a homeostatic balancing agent. And what that means is that we're losing nothing by not having the THC. That means our population, 65 and older, have much less problems with our product. That means you can safely give this to your smaller family members and your pets. So there are so many benefits to us having a non-THC product. I will tell you how, this is how I became the convert. So for those of you who know me, you know that I have my 15-year-old going to be 16 in August, Newfoundland, which is pretty much double a Newfoundland's life expectancy. We got up one morning, she had gone totally lame. She couldn't stand. She's a 120-pound dog. We had to get a log lifter, and my husband and I carried her out to the car, and we were expecting to take her to the vets to be put down. And many of you know this story because I was like over the moon. Long story short, we get to the doctor's. The doctor examines her, and she turns to us and says, she just needs some CBD. And then my husband turns and looks at me and he goes, don't you sell CBD? Like, shouldn't you have known that? And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So I get home, right? There is no way in God's green earth that I'm thinking CBD is saving this dog. 2 doses later, when the dog hops up off the ground and goes running out the door and jumps down the steps, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So my dog doesn't know if I gave her CBD or apple juice, right? So dogs make great test subjects. And I was sold. I was without a question sold. So usage and safety, let's talk just a little bit about that. CBD is an unbelievable supplement in that it's pretty safe, and its overdose threshold, you can't afford the overdose threshold. So in one of the studies I was reading, somebody was saying, I think the largest amount that it administered to anyone was 20,000 milligrams with still no overdose effect. If any of you here can afford 20,000 milligrams of CBD, I would like to be adopted. I will do dishes. I will cook for you. You cannot afford to OD, okay? Pretty safe drug. When do we want to think about what we're worried with? So first of all, who do you go to? You go to your pharmacist. Pharmacists are the most overeducated folks in the healthcare spectrum on supplements, over-the-counter, and meds. You want to be careful if you are using a blood thinner or a blood pressure medication, but even in those scenarios, it can be worked out. CBD gets processed through your liver and the CYP450 enzyme system. If you're a nurse, you know what I mean by that. So it competes with a lot of different drugs that get processed and broken down in your liver system. So you just want to be mindful of that. And when we talk about that, we're talking about the ingestion. We're not talking about the topical use of. So topical use of CBD is very minimally absorbed into our system. So hold on, let me go back and behave and do a script. Can you still see me when I'm reading?
Yep, you're in the far corner.
That's amazing. Okay,
Right?
I really need to figure this out. So our CBD is labeled for topical use. You want to clean the area, pat dry, and then you want to vigorously massage in. So I always tell everybody a good minute of pre-massage to get the area warm. Bring all of your white blood cell team to the area. Apply your CBD and then rub again. So when you're done, that could be a nice warm area. Maybe you need to reapply in 30 minutes or whatever, but you play with it, right? It's phenomenal. I find about a pea-sized amount on the area that hurts, rubbed in for a minute or two, wonderful. Where do you want to apply your CBD? Any place that aches, your temples, neck, elbows, knees, the bottom of your feet at the end of a long day, heel, feet, shoulders, okay? If you're sensitive, go low, start slow, and pay attention to what your body's doing. There are general guidelines on the use of CBD, but you got to decide what works best for you. And what you're doing. So for many people who are whose endocannabinoid system has not been engaged or hasn't been engaged in a while, it may take a tiny bit for it to start like clicking on and getting up to speed. Let's see what we got here. Okay, CBD is broken down in the liver. This is done by the same enzymes. We talked about this. Therefore, your system can get a little overworked if you're taking a liver taxing drug. So again, talk to your pharmacist about this. And I say pharmacist, not doctor, for a reason. I have found in the state of New York, they have tasked the pharmacist with part of broad education on CBD. New York is a leader. As you well know, New York and Boston, and it goes far beyond Yankees and Red Sox, but that's a good example. Anything New York does, Boston does better. Right? We experience this phenomenon our whole lives. So if New York moved with the legislation to empower their pharmacists, you can best be assured Boston's close on the tail of that, right? We never risk being left behind on anything that New York does, right? So if everybody in New York shaved their hair and painted their head purple tomorrow, we'd be doing, blue the next day. So expect that your pharmacist will be up to speed on this. A lot of physicians are not as a resource because if it's not been FDA monitored, they don't want to touch it with their license, and I understand that. Should you be telling your doctor? Absolutely, positively. But don't feel disappointed if they don't have the kind of answers that you're looking for. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so those of you, so in the group, if you're a newbie, tell me where you're considering or what you're considering using the CBD for, and are not so newbies, what's your favorite CBD product, and tell us how you're using it. Let's talk a little bit about the Calm roll-on. For those of you who know my husband, I don't have a ton of anxiety. I don't think I have that give a poop gene. But when we go out in the boat and I drive, he loses his mind. Like, I'm not allowed to go over like 1 mile an hour unless we have the Calm CBD. So it has come in incredibly handy in allowing me my full joy in reaching maximum driving capacity in my boat, and very, very effectively. So for those in my life with anxiety, the CBD roll-on, Calm roll-on, has been incredibly helpful. And keep in mind, guys, it is a balancer. Right? It's a homeostatic agent. It's a balancer. So it balances these folks out. So for folks that are having a deficiency and difficulty sleeping or have discomfort or have anxiety, it goes into the system and it balances, very much like essential oils do. Let's see. So what is in the Calm roll-on, okay? And I do like this around bedtime myself. So it's infused with eucalyptus, frankincense, lavender, orange, vetiver, and ylang-ylang, right? It really is a pretty amazing smelling product. Okay, let's go to the CBD joint and muscle balm. This is my jam. This is my favorite. I really do love it. It comes in 300 and 600 milligrams. It feels freaking amazing when you put it on your body. It has just the right amount of menthol to it, and it has a really tenacious sort of bee's balm texture, so it stays where you put it, right? As opposed to a coconut oil that is going to just diffuse a little bit more. When people ask about what do I use as a criteria for starting with the 300 or the 600, and understand that I work with an aged population. I have served for most of my career the 65 and older, so I'm always thinking of them. So when I'm teaching them, what I say to them is, if there is discomfort that is waking you up in the middle of the night or making it hard to go to sleep, or you're awaiting a joint replacement, go to 600. If this is for the daily wear and tear, sport injury, little bit of ache, you want it in the house is sort of like your, you know, your boo-boo cream, consider the 300, right? That's a good general idea on how to do that. Let's see, what else do we got over here? What is in our unbelievable balm? It is, in addition to our premium CBD, camphor, clove, heliochrysum, lemon, peppermint, tea tree, wintergreen. When you take a look at these and what their properties are in terms of healing, inflammation, discomfort management, you know, it's amazing. It really is. I think it's probably the product, the $300 or $600 milligram balm is probably my number one seller with my client base. Now, I just want to share with you, I'm going a little off script, but it is so worth it. So for those of you who are paying attention, we have this thing going on right now called coronavirus. And there are people who have high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease who have been targeted as part of those that population is more vulnerable or having more side effects. So there was a whole ton of research that started coming on with ACE inhibitors and ARBs. And I'll explain this in a sec. What they were figuring out was those people taking those meds were in a much more vulnerable state. They didn't know why. So what they just thought it was the disease process of diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. They didn't know enough to look and see the meds. Here's something absolutely fascinating. So Corona can only get into your body by attaching to the angiotensin converting enzymes, the ACE2 enzymes in our system. So our lungs, our nose, our oral mucosa are all covered with ACE2 enzymes that Corona attaches to and comes into the system. When those enzymes are blocked with something else, the Corona can't get in. Okay, you following me? When you take CBD, there's a research study that came out of Canada this week that said CBD naturally binds with the ACE2 inhibitors. Sorry, with the ACE2 enzymes. Meaning when you're taking the CBDs, they're filling up the spot on those little enzymes, right? They're sitting here and they're binding so that the coronavirus cannot. So it's pretty interesting stuff that's coming out. And of course, that's preliminary stuff, right? That's the first pass. But the fact that they're starting to look at what CBD does in terms of binding with receptors. So just one of those really geeky things that you'd be paying attention to if you happen to be on any of those. And what's really interesting is, and those of you who do Zen will know what I'm talking about. I took myself off my ACE inhibitor back in January, which was probably a really good move considering Corona and all that good stuff. Anyhow, I digress. So let us go back. What do we also have? So we have our balm, we have our calm roll-on, and then we also offer 3 different CBD oil tincture options: cool mint, citrus, and cinnamon. So again, smart spectrum. Take the isolate of the CBD, put it with specific terpenes that Young Living makes that we know do specific things. They are packaged in a convenient dropper bottle for easy use, and these ones come in 500 or 1,000 milligram. Okay. Now, the thing I like about the 1,000 milligram, so the Yankee in me, if you will, allows me to, the 1,000 milligram, I use less of it, and so it lasts me longer. So you can take a whole dropper of 500 milligram or a half dropper of 1,000 to get your 500, right? So I tend to go with 1,000 milligram and have it last longer and use less of it. So that's something that whoever invited you here can work with you and explain that with you. and explain when you need one dosage or the other. Generally speaking, they are recommending between 10 to 40 milligrams of CBD, and 10 being on the starting spectrum, 40 being on the maxed out. But again, there's no ceiling to this. You use what you need. Our Cool Mint has peppermint and spearmint, delicious. The citrus is grapefruit and orange. That is my favorite. I just love how that tastes. It's like kind of like lemonade. Cinnamon is our cinnamon bark, right? They are all quite tasty, and they are done all naturally. Let's see. All right. Now that we're all experts, right? We have starter kits, and we're going to get to that because there is a way to buy this in the most cost-effective manner. It's actually amazing. So when you look at our starter kits, by purchasing the Balm with the tincture, you get the Calm free, basically. But okay, so I'm going to stay on task, which I do. I'm so bad at when I talk about topics I love. So now that you're an expert, let's go. So buying it from the local gas station or someplace random, you can kind of start to see you're getting what you're paying for, just like with oils, right? We have 0 THC. So for folks where either sobriety or military or cops or people who are drug tested, that's an important distinction for them, okay? Nature's Ultra is available through your Young Living account in your back office, right? We used to have to go to a separate site. Now it's right there. You can put it on your ER orders. It's something you can order monthly, right? It's right there, and it's so nice and easy. What makes it different than the rest of them? So all products are tested during multiple stages throughout the manufacturing process for potency and purity. Issue with the CBD industry right now is it's like the Wild West. There are so many companies that are popping up left, right, and sideways that are just pumping stuff out, and the risk is lead, cadmium, mercury, things showing up in your CBD that are going to cause far more problems than you had before you started. Nature's Ultra CBD, it's derived from hemp plants, and it's grown on our partner farms in Colorado without the use of any pesticide. So one of the things I learned about this is if you put your farm far enough up the mountainside, the bugs don't get at it. I never knew this. This is part of the whole natural farming piece. So one of the ways that we keep our product nice and clean is putting it on soil that's never been farmed on, and making our farm high enough altitude that there is not an insect problem. I love that. I thought that was like, I'm like, ooh, So any of you who hate bugs, just go to the side of the mountain and start climbing. All Nature's Ultra products have been subjected to rigorous testing and standards. And one of the most important things you guys can do for yourself is start to learn to read the COAs, the Certificate of Analysis. Ours is absolutely gorgeous to look at, and it gives you a breakdown of the junk that may be in your CBD. Harsh chemicals are never used in our manufacturing. It's no surprise. And they have their own proprietary extraction methods. So a lot of folks are in the game right now with their hat in the ring on CBD, and I think we're going to continue to see that. But lo and behold, let's see who's still standing in another year or so. And I have no doubt that Young Living and Nature's Ultra will be right up there. The product is good and it works. It is manufactured CBD isolate from industrial hemp, and it's GMP and ISO certified. All of our ingredients in our CBD are gluten-free, vegan approved, and natural and organic. Let's see. I'm going to take a breather and pass off to Kristen. I don't know if there's any any questions. You are so
That
welcome.
was amazing. Every time you speak on anything, especially CBD, I learn so much, particularly around the ACE inhibitor, COVID.
Crazy, huh?
That's like my mind exploded when you said that.
Which means and you can only talk for yourself.
Right.
For me, when that research came out, and Dr. Ollie was talking about that this week in the study that came out of Canada, right there and then I bumped up so I usually use the Balm every day for my old achy body, yes. But then I went to the every day, a drop of full.
Wow. And the fact that you took yourself off of that in January.
LeBron James, right?
Mm-hmm. Zen, IGS. Okay, so I digress. And now here I am digressing. All right, so how do you get your hands on this CBD? So as Kay had mentioned, if you are already a Young Living member, you can just go into the virtual office, log right in, and you can actually add it to your Essential Rewards order. Get your points for it, get all kinds of great promotions and freebies on top of that. If you're not yet a member, you can get yourself a CBD starter kit. And the CBD starter kits come in 2 variations. We have the regular strength and the extra strength. The regular strength is just that 300 milligram roll-on, rub, and 500 milligram tincture. And then the extra strength is double that, 600 for the muscle rub and roll-on, and then 1,000 milligrams for the tincture. It is the most amazing value if you actually add up the numbers of how much each of these individually costs at retail. So if you are not yet a member with Young Living and you want to get your hands on the CBD, just circle back with the person that invited you to this class tonight, and they are going to get you hooked up. You can also order at retail, but I honestly, I wouldn't recommend that. That's like friends don't let friends buy anything at retail. So a few frequently asked questions that we do get around CBD. I'm going to just walk through them really quick. The first question is, can you order CBD on Essential Rewards? And the answer is yes, now you can. Previously, as we were kind of rolling out the CBD availability with Young Living and Nature's Ultra, it was a multi-phase process. First, we had to go to a separate website, then we couldn't order on Essential Rewards, and then we could, and now it's completely integrated into our virtual office and our product offering. So that's really, really amazing. Another question is, do I receive the same 24% off of CBD products as I do with every Young Living order? And the answer is yes. Everything that you order from Young Living, you're going to get, if you're a wholesale customer or a wholesale member, you're going to get 24% off of retail, which is a huge value. Another question, do I receive the same referral bonus opportunities when I'm helping a friend become a Young Living member by ordering CBD? Yes, 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 yes. One of the really cool aspects of our Young Living membership is that you get this thing called a referral number, and that's your member number. And just by helping others get started with not just oils or toxin-free living products or CBD or toxin-free makeup, you're going to get a thank you check for that. That is one of the things that has completely changed my life. I know I can probably speak for Kay and for Juliet and for Anne as well. You know, former nurses right here. Anne is still maybe, I think, holding on to one day a week, and she's completely per diem. But it's really, really life-changing and quite a legacy that you can begin creating, especially during now when we are in times of such uncertainty and economic, downturn. This has been an incredible blessing for so many families. So that is really, really an amazing opportunity as well, that you can earn referrals, money to pay for your oils, your CBD, or your groceries. Will I receive commissions from those who purchase CBD within my organization? And the answer is yes. As long as you qualify to receive bonuses and commissions, you're going to receive the same bonuses and commissions as you would with any other Young Living product. So with that, we're going to stop the sharing and we'll open it up to any questions that you guys may have. Let me turn off the screen. And I haven't had a chance to even look at the chat. I'm sure it's been very lively. Are there any unanswered questions in there that we need to address? And I think you can also raise your hand, if I'm not mistaken, in the webinar. So if anyone wants to actually speak, we'd love to hear your voice. That would be awesome. I want to just say thank you to Anne and Juliet and Kay for bringing it tonight. You guys are awesome. This is like heavy duty sciencey stuff. So I know when we're going through that, your eyes might be kind of rolling in the back of your head. But I feel that it's powerful because you kind of have to set that stage in order for you to really understand how powerful our Nature's Ultra Smart Spectrum CBD really is. You really kind of need to understand that entourage effect and why that THC needs to be pulled out and how it's so powerful to bring those terpenes back in. So sorry if we lost you a little bit. There's got to be a CBD for dummies somewhere.
You know what though, but I think you need that stuff.
I do too. I go back and forth. I'm like, should we dumb it down? But I'm like, no, because I don't even understand what I'm talking about when I'm reading this half the time.
So when people start to realize how valuable it is. So if you guys remember when the CBD launched, we were out at convention And Jules might remember, I could barely walk. My leg was going numb, and the pain was so bad, I was considering going to the hospital. And of course, you know, true, I'm like, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up. When they finally launched it, the line to buy the CBD was like 4 hours long. And there was no way I could stand in it. So like a lunatic, I went over to the sample bar and I went from tray to tray to tray and stole enough CBD to put in my mouth and enough to rub on me. Then I went behind the curtain at the convention hall, pulled up my dress because I had Spanx on. All the workers were there who like do the behind the scene lighting. And I turned around because of course the line for the women's room was as long as the line for CBD. And I hollered at the workers and I go, turn around, this is now the women's room. And I rubbed that stuff into my hip, like awful sciatica from the pain. And in about 15 minutes, I had tears of joy. I was like, holy crap. It was, you know, and again, these are like the things. Having done pain management is my specialty for the last 20 plus years, 30 years. Having something like that in your arsenal, and I pair it up. So I double that up with our Cool Azul cream. I put a layer of deep relief and put this over it. So there's so much you can do to play with it and use it. It's a powerful potentiator.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Are we done recording? Or are we not?
Let's stop. We're going to stop recording. Sorry. This is where the good stuff starts. All right, hold on a sec. Let me see how I stop recording.